All right, what's up, y'all? It's your girl Malika checking in with another episode of From the Block Podcast. And as you can see here, I'm so excited because it's an important topic, but at least I don't have to discuss this topic alone. So, it's 2024, so you know what that means. Presidential elections are coming up this November. Now, we all know the importance of voting. However, this election is a little different, and it's looking like there needs to be all hands on deck. So if you don't know, the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative political group, produced a 900-page manifesto titled Project 2025. So according to BBC News, it calls for sacking thousands of civil servants, expanding the power of the president, dismantling the Department of Education and other federal agencies, and sweeping tax cuts. So really, only one question remains. How do we feel about all this? So y'all, please join me for this really important discussion as we talk about Project 2025, how it affects us all, and most importantly, how do we feel about all this? So ladies, just for clarification, right, here are a few things that are outlined in the manifesto. So number one, elimination of Obamacare, no more student loan forgiveness plans, no mask or vaccine mandates, ending the Department of Education, eliminating radical gender ideology beliefs, and reversing the FDA approval on abortion pills. Now, mind you, for context, there are, a lot more listed, but those are just a couple that, I outlined. So, all right, number one, burning question. How do you feel about all this?
So thank you for having me on here. And so about the Project 2025. So basically, like, I when I first heard about it and stuff, I wanted to look into it because I knew that news publications were making a big deal out of this. And when you actually go on the Heritage Foundation, you go on that conservative society that they want to implement. On their website, they have tabs that says overview and the layout. I clicked on that, and they have like 960 pages of what they want. They have a table of contents about what they want to do with sex and how to basically identify what that is, and basically about the Department of Education. My thoughts are on the fact that this is very scary, and it's not because of the first reaction of learning about Project 2025, but if you actually read about what's inside of that Project 2025, like, that's what's the most terrifying. It's because it's almost happening. Like, the extreme Republicans they're telling you what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst thing that really terrifies me is the fact that Trump's base has embraced a lot of the ideologies that Project 2025 wants to do, such as when job applicants or school applications are saying no discrimination against sex, race, nationality, national origin, sexual orientation. They want to do away with that. They want to make it legal for people to be able to discriminate, which is really scary. And another thing that also terrifies me as well is the fact that, like, me myself as like an Asian woman and stuff, obviously is just terrified about how people can racially profile.
Yeah.
That is terrifying. They're telling you what they want to do. And Trump's base and his platforms has already echoed some of the things that are on Project 2025. Obviously, they agree with it. And Project 2025 also wants to do away with term limits. They want to keep Trump in office for as long as possible until enough Americans make enough noise to want him out of office. Mm-hmm. And it's just crazy to me because that's the opposite of what a true patriot wants, which is to preserve democracy in our republic. Like, be able to protect democracy and voting rights and elections is a fabric of our country, of what we fought so hard for.
I seen Steve Bannon. CNN was covering it. He was doing some press conference and he was saying how we want to keep Trump in office for as long as we can. Like, we want to make sure that we're upholding these good, American traditional values, and we're implementing these different practices for Americans to follow. And it's like, that's not how democracy works. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just straight up terrified. Honestly, like, that's all. Anytime I think about it, anytime I see any news article, tweet, anything about Project 2025 or the idea of Trump being elected again, it just scares me, not only for myself, but for future generations, for my family, for my friends. I think, and to really look at it, the last time that a conservative think tank listed out a bunch of policies Trump got elected, 60% of those policies were put into action while he was in office. So we can really sit here and talk about, oh, but the possibility, if Trump gets elected, nearly all of these ideals and ideas that are laid out in Project 2025 are going to come to fruition, and we're going to have to sit here and actively fight against it, just like we are now and have been for so many years. So it's honestly just terrifying, like the thought of having to go through all of this. I was in middle school last time he got elected, so there was nothing I could actively do. But now that I'm in college and so heavily involved in the political world, there's just so much terror around the idea of Trump becoming president again, and Project 2025 just feeds right into that.
What do you think? What do y'all think is the most fearful potential ideology implementation that's listed in the manifesto?
That's a good one. I would definitely say the term limits. I think that in just like really what, scary. Yeah, and just what Project 2025 itself stands for. Like it seems like it's only catering to the white religious people. I think that terminating and expanding presidential power. He wants the Project 2025, as we all know, probably that they want to expand presidential power, and that's everything that the Revolutionary War tried to fight against was a monarchy. You know, that builds a pathway for authoritarianship. You know what I'm saying? And it's scary because you can see back in World War II and all the history stuff that's happened with the rise of dictators and how, like, for example, you know, other dictators, like, they had elections and then they got elected by the people and then boom, they took that away. They're slowly eroding those ways. And I hate making that, like, parallel.
No, it's factual.
But it sucks. It's factual because I don't think a lot of Trump supporters, especially the ones that are middle class and have families and that claim to be good people, they don't really understand the seriousness of Project 2025 because it's going to hurt them too.
I think what's really disheartening as well as scary is some of the rhetoric when you log on to different social media sites like Twitter or Instagram, and people are still, you know, replaying and reminiscing about 2020 and the two stimulus checks that people got. And I know in that, okay, that one, we're still paying for that now, but two, you know, it's, well, my gas prices, you know, weren't as high and my groceries weren't this high, and, you know, it was cool when Trump was in office. This doesn't have anything to do with me. So I think when people downplay the seriousness of the Project 2025, but also when people have the mindset of that has nothing to do with me, why should I care? I think that definitely, I mean, it's really scary, and I feel like it definitely just sets a very different tone. So why do you think the Republican Party is pushing for this dystopian society?
I mean, ultimately, they just want to eradicate the Democratic Party. That everything that they do is rooted in the hatred of Democrats, which is just genuinely insane. I was listening to someone talk about Project 2025 from the Republican side, and someone who had helped in editing and creating Project 2025, and ultimately their whole goal was just to build up conservatives. They want to put conservative people in every single elected office. They want to in every single appointed position. They want to eliminate the idea of a two-party system and just have Republicans and conservatives controlling everything. And that the idea of that, I mean, it's generally terrifying, but Republicans, all they want is power. They're power-hungry people, and we really just have to look at it from a standpoint of this is who they are, this is what they've shown that they are. Every past president that has been from the Republican Party has shown that as well.
That's a very powerful response. And it's just, you know, I do like to read about other people's, like, I love listening to other people's, like, perspectives and stuff. Mm-hmm. And, like, listening to people who support Project 25, especially on social media, is interesting because I'm like, have you actually read it? You know, a lot of them are like, oh, we need to start over. We just need to start over. Yeah, I hear I see a lot of angry people, and I'm like, but the problem is that this is also going to help hurt you too. The whole, it's only going to hurt Democrats. It's like, no, you don't understand. Is that politics is involuntary, unfortunately, you know? And the whole, like, GOP supporting Project 2025, I think a lot of it has to do with just lacking a lot of empathy. A lot of these,
for sure.
Yeah, these people are just so, like I said, power hungry, but I think they've just had enough. They're tired of it, and they feel like, oh, Democrats have been controlling us, but in reality, it's like, no, look at what you're doing. Like, you're alienating, you know, Black and brown, Asian, immigrants, all these people who've actually helped America's economy, has actually helped America become a better place. Like, you're trying to roll back everything backwards for the sake of trying to fulfill the fact that you feel inferior, because now America's changing. And I think that's the scary part, is that they feel scared, and that's why they support Project 2025.
You said something really interesting, because I see this, I see the I hear the dialogue, I see it online. When people say, okay, so we need something like this because we need that restart. No matter where I go in America, it doesn't matter if it's MLK Boulevard or, Malcolm X Street. A lot of Black and brown communities under the Democratic control, they're in, quote unquote bad communities, or, as Donald Trump had formerly say, shithole communities. So what's your response to people really pushing for a reset, because they feel as if the Republicans would have a better control on Black and brown communities, inner city communities?
I mean, think about it. The last time that America started, they took slaves from Africa. They took enslaved people. So in terms of restarting, this country has been set for hundreds of years. There's no restarting. It's just making things worse. That's honestly all we can do. People can actively try to make things better, and there are so many groups out there that do that, but they're never highlighted. It's always the ones that are making things worse. And like we had kind of talked about before, just the idea of power and control, that's all it's about. Resetting doesn't mean anything. Resetting just means giving control to people who only care about themselves, who only care about, how you had said, white religious people. Like, that's it. Straight white religious people at that.
It's definitely their target audience.
Yes.
Sucks. And I hate saying that, because
I hate it
know
so much.
I know in high school it was kind of different. The way I was thinking is like, no, there's no way they could be like that, because and it's just like, in my head, I really try to find good in people, but it's hard when I read Project 25, because now I just straight up believe that they really don't care about immigrants. They don't care about people like us. They just don't. And it sucks, because their actions have shown that. And it's just with the whole resetting part, like, I think a lot of it is that they don't understand what America truly is. Like, everybody has their own difference in their heads of what they want America to be. They obviously do. They run a manifesto about it. But the thing is, I think they don't understand that America is not about trying to put church and state back together. I think they want to split apart the separation of church and state, even though the founding fathers wanted that, which is so ironic, because a lot of the Republican base is all about founding fathers, patriot. I'm a patriot. I love America, and I'm a patriot. But the ones like the Project 2025 that are trying to destroy it is not what I love, and not what I stand for. And I think we Democrats, honestly, just in general, wherever we lean, moderate, independent, I don't even care, moderate, Republican, we have to be able to take that back of what it really means to be a patriot. Because if you support Project 2025 and the whole eradication of separation of church and state, you're not really a genuine patriot. They're honestly supporting things that the Revolutionary War in the base fought so hard against. And it's ironic.
So do you feel as if conservatives overly try to push divide and control amongst citizens, or do you think that's just politics in general?
I think it's politics in general, but also conservatives definitely try to push that agenda.
More than the Democrats, or do you think it's pretty equal?
That's a really good
That's why I feel like it's just politics in general, for real, just because I've worked on a couple campaigns for just different seats across the country, and you'll have a Democrat that, like, one of their policies or their values is that they're nonpartisan and they want to work with all people. Anytime a Republican says that, it's not true. Like, you can go on Ballotpedia, you can see everything that they voted yay or nay for, and just see where their values align and that they're not with the people. If somebody says that they're nonpartisan, or they're trying to push that, like, bridge that divide, there's evidence that, they're just saying it for fun. And I think a lot of Republicans tend to do that. They're not actually about the action and about the work of making sure that the things and the laws that they're signing and the policies that they're pushing are for the better of the people of their communities, of the communities that they represent. They're not. They're just for their own personal agenda. And I think that really just goes back to America being run like a business. Like, there's no better for the people. It's what's best for the money, what's best for the way we look. not what's best for the people, the citizens of America in each community.
That was so well said, for real. I think a lot of it is, I think that something that I really want to point out is the former Speaker of the House for the Republicans, Kevin McCarthy, actually secretly said, and it was caught and put all over articles, he said, you know, when I look at the Democrat Party, they actually look like America. But when I look at the Republican Party, honestly, we look like exclusive country club guys. We look like country club people. Like, they look like white, wealthy country club people. The Democrat Party actually looks like America. I think that's interesting that someone like him, who is a Republican and was a former House Speaker, said that behind closed doors.
That's the thing. Republicans know what they're doing. They're very calculated about everything. And not to say that Democrats aren't, because 100% are.
Oh, yeah.
But Republicans are just very calculated in every single thing that they do and say. They understand that they are the cookie cutter version of what America looks like. They are not the representative group. People who look like us are. And so I think that they understand that, and they use that power to, you know, kind of just make sure that their party is overall and overarching to everything.
Yeah, and I think that goes against what democracy is, because democracy, you know, I've heard the arguments, this is a republic, look it up. And I'm just like, democracy means to vote in elections is the fabric of what makes America great. What makes America great is be able to vote, be able to do this, talk about things freely without the president trying to expand his powers and tell us to shut up and then try to sue us, you know? That's not America, you know? And as somebody who was born not here, like, I'm an American citizen, but the fact that, like, I came from a place where we don't have all this is insane. You know, the fact that, like, I now see people that I thought were trying to protect democracy take it away, you know? And I think oftentimes democracy, like, I hate to say it, but I think that far-right extremists, like, people like that who are the loudest on social media about, you know, always trying to do the other. They always have the other. And we've seen that in history when we study World War II, World War I. You know, and that's how genocides get started. That's literally how wars break out. This is how people get boxed into camps and stuff, because they have an other. They're the problem, you know? Democracy doesn't leave people out. And I think that we've seen far-right people, and I hate saying that because I don't want to keep, like, throwing trash at people, but it's like, obviously, they just don't care. Like, far-right extremists don't care. You know? They're always trying to, like, leave people out of democracy. It's sad.
Now, y'all said something really interesting in your response, and it had made me think of something that Charlemagne had said when he had said that at least the Republicans are straightforward with their dislike and with their beliefs and what they want to implement, but he feels like the Democrats, they sort of like hide behind a veil. Now, the Biden admin is receiving a lot of scrutiny for their lack of support for, you know, the genocide going on in Palestine, support for Israel, under-delivering student loan forgiveness, and a few other things. So do y'all think his admin should be concerned this upcoming election with voter turnout, especially since we know that this election is really, really important when stopping the implementation of Project 2025?
I think they genuinely should be concerned, just because a president hasn't, you know, in decades, hasn't had to deal with such a problem like the genocide in Palestine. And especially since Gen Z is now eligible to vote, the thought that an administration isn't doing as much as they possibly could to help the people of Palestine and to just, you know, bridge the divide between Israel and Palestine, people are going to come out and vote against Biden and the Biden administration just because of this one thing. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is they don't do their research into more of what the candidate is about. It's like face value. This is what you're not doing, so I'm going to vote for your opponent. Or even worse, I'm not going to vote at all.
And I think that's part of the problem with single issue minded thinking.
Yes.
Because it's like, we really look at the facts. Trump has said multiple times in his speeches that he's going to deport pro-Palestinian. And, you know, and it's like, look at Biden. Like, Biden has actually tried to fight for a ceasefire with Netanyahu. He said, Netanyahu, I'm going to hold you accountable if you don't have a ceasefire. He has done more work than Trump could ever do in office. And I think right now he's being unfairly criticized. Because it's like, look at Trump. Like, he does, like, you have two options. And it's sad. And I keep mentioning that because I think that oftentimes the whole something I've been hearing, and I don't know if it's the majority of Gen Z. I just think that it's the loudest ones that take to their keyboards, and they're usually the ones that don't do anything. They're usually the
Keyboard
ones that,
warriors.
they're performers, activism. Like, and I was just like, where's your outreach with climate change? Where's your outreach for abortion rights? Where's your outreach for LGBTQ people? You know?
It reminds me of like 2020 when the Black Lives Matter stuff was happening and everyone was like posting black squares on their Instagram. It's like, you can do that, but you're not in the streets. You're not calling our legislators. You're not doing anything else besides posting on your Instagram story.
Yeah, that is called selective activism.
It is. It's selective outreach. And for me, I'm just like, we have to look at the facts. We have to think, okay, unfortunately, we do have two people running, like two main people. There are other people from Democrats and Republicans, but obviously Trump and Biden are going to win their primaries and stuff. And we have to really look at them, right? We have two people. Biden is more empathetic towards Palestinian Americans and Jewish Americans than Trump has shown or demonstrated. Both of their languages, when they speak and what they say in their speeches and rallies, really shows you that former President Trump, who is a convicted felon, is not going to help try to bridge that Jewish and Palestinian American divide or try to even sympathize with campus protesters. But Biden has, and Biden is trying to call for a ceasefire. He's been trying to do more work than Trump would even want to lift a finger.
So my quick counter question, because I know some people ask ask this, they would compare the two as like the lesser of the two evils. So as though like one, Trump is a bit more radical when it comes to not supporting, Palestinians in their struggles and being in, full support of other things, and Biden to where, although he's not blatantly as vocal as Trump, that he's not, doing enough. Like there's still more that needs to be done. So then what's the answer to that counter argument of you can compare the two, but it's still like a lesser of the two evils per se?
Yeah, I think that a lot of those people who say this don't know how our U.S. government works.
Yeah.
Because the thing about where Biden is right now in this situation, a lot of House Republicans have tried to be like, no, I don't want to support, cancellation of student loans. The president right now, as it is a fair checks and balances, doesn't have all the power. So it's not like he can wave a magical wand and promise all the things. Like Trump has vowed to finish the border, and he didn't, And look at Biden. The inflation is not his fault, especially with all the things that he had to succeed from. After Trump's administration, like he had to fix up a lot of things.
I feel like half of his term was just trying to undo.
Yeah, and that's the reason why. That's the reason why for me, I support him and try to win versus Trump.
Yes.
And versus Trump, like that's what we're getting at. Like Biden versus Trump. Who would I choose? I would choose Biden because of that fact. So he can finish up, be able to protect LGBTQ rights, codify right to contraception, and it's not his fault because the Senate Republicans did not vote to actually codify that. So that's an example.
I think none of us will ever understand how difficult it is to actually be president of an entire country and have to deal with scrutiny from citizens, scrutiny from elected officials. I think the way that Biden is going has, I don't think we should idolize any politician because there's not a single politician out there that every single thing that they say is like gospel. That is just not, realistically speaking, ever going to happen. So you really just have to look at it like which person, which elected official, which candidate can I vote for that has some of the same values as me and is actively trying to defend what democracy is and what freedom is for people in this country. There should be no restrictions for LGBTQ people. There should be no restrictions on abortion. There should be police accountability for Black and brown communities that are being over-policed in their districts and in their communities. I think we have to actively look at, and that, like you had said, that's the problem. People don't really do their research. It's like they see one thing about a candidate and are like, all right, I'm just not going to vote, or I'm just going to vote for the other side because I don't want to actively vote for this side. People don't do their research, and that's honestly detrimental to the fabric of democracy.
Yeah, and a lot of Gen Z people, majority I saw in a news article, I think it was from Pew Research, saying that Gen Z, most of them get their news from social media.
Yeah.
And I think that was problematic because Instagram, TikTok especially, are purposely designed by their companies to have algorithms show them what they want to see.
Yeah.
So do you think freedom of speech is subjective?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't I don't know. I think it's subjective to whoever is in control. I think whoever is in control decides what freedom of speech can be. And you can look at that just like by different court cases that have gone around about freedom of speech. I remember there was one about a woman who was denying service to an LGBTQ couple because she didn't want to make their wedding cake because they were gay.
Mm-hmm.
I think freedom of speech, and she ended up winning her court case and didn't have to do anything because they were gay. Like, I think freedom of speech is really just whoever is in power is going to have control over what people say. And I think social media platforms like TikTok and like Instagram and like Twitter or X or whatever we want to call that one, they are designed to, like you said, let people see what they want to see, which then alters their mind and their decision thinking, and whatever they're going to say is based off of what they see. And what they see is made by people in control.
Wow, that's a great analysis. Because honestly, like, a lot of it is about perspective, especially when it comes to SCOTUS making decisions and rulings, you know? And it's just a lot of it is perspective when it comes to what is freedom of speech, but what is in the Constitution. Like, the way that the freedom of speech is applied to other scenarios like social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, X, like, TikTok's separate because it's not an American company. A lot of it, that American company, you know, like Microsoft and like Meta controlling the what their freedom of speech on their platforms are, have always made that case that this is our company. You're using our platform and our product, so therefore you can't just go posting a bunch of misinformation. We're going to take it down, you know, because it's their private entity and it's not government owned. So I think that's where the speech of freedom of speech and what that means, especially on social media, comes into play.
So now I do want to mention that if Joe Biden wins in November, then all of this will be rebranded into Project 2029. So, you know, the fight never technically ends. Now some people will say to that, okay, cool. Again, what does that have to do with me? So my final question, how can we make people care about these things?
I think it really just comes down to the person. Everyone, you know, has their own level of selfishness, and that's just how every person is. I don't really think there's one completely selfless person that is voting for just the greater good of what these people are elected and what they're going to do once they get elected. I think we look at the ballot and we look at these candidates, what can you do for me? Mm-hmm. And we really just need to get out of that mindset. But I think just targeting younger voters, the entire generation of Generation Z is just, now that we're able to vote, you know, we're looking to see what can actually make change, and just being transparent, and transparency from our elected officials and from our candidates 1000% helps, you know, in terms of voting. I think we just need to see an outline of what you're going to do, and that's why there's so much uproar over Project 2025, because that is a direct outline of what is going to happen if Trump gets elected. We're not seeing much transparency from the other side, Biden. We're not seeing that. So I think transparency, I know for at least me and, you know, the group of people I hang around, would make, I mean, I know I'm going to vote for Biden, but I think it would definitely help people who may be on the fence or people who are deciding to actively not go vote. Transparency would make the decision just that much easier.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think also marketing, like the communication, they gotta do a better job with communication when it comes to literally reaching it. But I think that he cares more about Gen Z voters than Biden, than Trump.
Absolutely.
Trump, you know? Yeah, but like with the whole like, oh, it doesn't affect me. I think what we're doing now and what you are doing with your awesome podcast is being able to bring these topics up about, like, people like you are the reason why more people are going to be aware about Project 2025, you know? Doing this is what's going to help. Having these hard, difficult conversations and getting everyday people to talk about how is this going to affect me? Because, like, even those who are in the 1%, yeah, you can move to a different country, but these are going to come back to them. Like, it affects politics is involuntary, no matter how big or small you are. Like, look at Trump. He's a billionaire, and yet he could escape the law and justice system, you know? And it's crazy. Like, that really showed you that nobody is above the law. And I think that when we talk about the Project 2025 and the whole, oh, it doesn't personally affect me, it's going to affect somebody you know.
Yeah.
And your vote is not about you all the time. It's actually about how the fact that you voting for somebody who maybe wants to illegalize same-sex marriages, that's going to hurt your next door neighbor that you just had a cocktail with. Or the person was their teacher that you loved so much. She might be Palestinian. And you're voting for somebody that doesn't even like them. Like, this is real life, and it's sad, but it's like, here we are as young people in general trying to spread the word, trying to make more noise, trying to make sure it never dies down. Because people have to know about it first to be like, oh, what is this Project 2025? Why is this trending on Twitter X? Let me click on this. And the more we talk about this and get everyday people like you know, just in general, talking about, hey, this is how it's going to personally affect me. Even though they might be wealthy or really rich or very famous, like, it doesn't matter because it's going to come back to them as well. Like, nobody is excluded when it comes to policy making.
Absolutely. So, yeah, in conclusion, Project 2025, if it affects one of us, it affects all of us.
It really is.
So, make sure y'all go out there and vote this upcoming election. I can't even thank y'all enough. Well, number one, y'all coming back, so I don't even have to, like, yeah, you guys are coming back, so. Okay. First off. But yeah, thank you all so much. I really, really, really enjoyed this conversation. So, okay, you all can follow these amazing ladies on all social media platforms
at Ariana, ARIANA .Levin, LEVIN.
and at Ashley Ewald official, ASHLEIGHEWALD official, and nothing.
And well, you guys know what to do. Follow us on all social media platforms at From the Blog Podcast. Okay, bye. Yo, that was awesome.